2 Samuel chapter 23, 11 through 12 tells us the Philistines had gathered together into a troop where there was a piece of ground full of lentils. So the people fled from the Philistines, but Shammah stationed himself in the middle of the field, defended it, and killed the Philistines. So the Lord brought about a great victory. Shammah had a decision to make in that moment. This army of Philistines stood before him, swords and spears drawn, ready for battle. His friends had left him, fleeing because they were afraid to fight, afraid to stand up to the approaching, relentless enemy. Truth is, Shammah could have run too. I can only imagine standing there in the open field with thoughts of worries racing through his head, that Shammah doubted where he was in that moment, doubted who he was and what he was called to do. He probably thought to himself, what am I doing here, standing in the middle of a field of beans? Am I going to die for these beans? Am I really going to sacrifice my own life for something so small and insignificant? But I also like to think that in that very next moment, realization came upon Shammah. They're not just beans. They're not just beans. Shammah wasn't just standing in a field full of beans surrounded by the little things. He was standing in the middle of God's promise, the land that had been given to the Israelite people by God. It didn't belong to the Philistines. It didn't belong to the world. It belonged to God's people. It belonged to Shammah. And no one was going to take it no matter how hard they fought. The world is trying to push the boundaries of your beliefs, convincing you that what you're fighting for is just a small and insignificant field of beans. They want you to give it up without a fight, but how quickly one field can turn into many. Your consistent church attendance isn't just beans. Your prayer life, your family's devotion time isn't just beans. Every inch of your spiritual lifestyle is one that is worth fighting for. Every bit of God's promise is on the line. They're not just beans.